Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today we're going to do a review of a set of markers. The reason why I'm doing it today on a Tuesday instead of on a Friday is because I have a coupon and my coupon's got me. I have a coupon for a set of 80 alcohol markers. They are a brush tip marker. I have swatched them and it does have a fairly nice range of colors. The one thing I don't like is the bag they come in. First of all, um, the brush is really nice. I have put a piece of paper in here to try to hold the bag together, but it doesn't seem to be working. But I'll open this up. So I'll try to get this under here so that you can see the range of colors that come in this set. Like I said, it comes in this awful bag and they just go everywhere. But it does have a brush tip. I'll show you the brush tip as well as a chisel. I, of course, prefer my brush tips over anything else. And as you can see, it's got a fairly nice brush tip. It doesn't seem to be frayed. They don't, go sploosh every time you open the marker, which I have had problems with. It does also have a chisel tip. I haven't tried the chisel tips, but I have tried, as you can see, the brush marker tips. So they have a good yellow range as well as a red range into some pinks, into some purples, and then into your blues, your blue-greens, your greens, grays, and blacks, warm grays, all that fun stuff. So what I was going to tell you about is on my coupons, my enabled station coupons, I do have a 50% off coupon for these markers. I will list it below the video, but for $20 you get 80 markers. They have a good brush tip, and that if you don't want to spend a lot on something to try markers out, this seems to be a good alternative. We're going to color with them and see how they work on, and Jen's going to love this, a mandala. Jen, I'm doing a mandala. So I've got my color chart here because I haven't actually colored with them, but I want to show you the different colors and the different color combinations that can be done. The one thing that I do a lot of pictures of is skin tones, and unfortunately this has a couple, but not really any good skin tone colors. It has one or two that you can use for skin tone, but not a lot that you would combine for a light skin tone. They've got lots of them that you can combine for a darker skin tone. So if you do a lot of dark skin tones with markers, this set would work quite well for you. I do a lot of light skin tones, so the set itself doesn't give me enough colors to do a light skin tone with. So, because 99% of my pictures are skin tones, the other 10% are animals or mandalas, and the animal ones are very intricate, so I don't want to take up a whole lot of time today and do an intricate picture. So we're going to work on this mandala here. I'm going to use Y34 to begin with, and I'm going to start just on the background with this nice yellow. And as you can see, they lay down really, really well. There's no bleeding into areas you don't want it to bleed into. I am using the Express It alcohol paper. And one thing that I have figured out with markers is paper is everything. if you don't have the right paper, you're going to find that even your expensive Copics are going to bleed into your picture on areas that you've gone over the lines or that sort of thing. I'm not having to be too careful of where this is going because it's not going to bleed over. I am going to be careful when I'm going through smaller areas just to make sure that I don't make too much of a mess. And we'll see how well they blend during this video, as well as how well they color. So I'm just going to do a base coat here of the undercolor, and then all the other colors we will work together. So this is the boring part, and I should have probably done it beforehand, but I wanted to give Jen the thrill of watching Renee color a mandala. I know, it's funny. I don't color mandalas very often because I do find the repetition of them fairly boring. However, with a demonstration like this, especially with an alcohol marker, it goes by very, very quickly, and I can show you different aspects of the marker all in one sheet, if that makes sense. Now, they do bleed through, of course. They are an alcohol marker, so no matter what paper that you're going to use, if you don't have something protecting whatever you're coloring on, whether it be your desk or a cutting mat or anything like that, you are going to get bleed through onto your surface. So make sure that you put a piece of paper behind it. I have a glass mat, so I'm not worried about it. But if I didn't have my glass mat, I would have another paper behind it. This yellow is going down really, really nicely. And as you can see, because this is a 3D mandala, there is a lot of shadowing, which is great. And the marker isn't bleeding the shadowing. Now, I just printed this picture on an inkjet printer, so the fact that the marker isn't moving the ink is actually really kind of cool, because sometimes when you have alcohol markers on a freshly printed page that you haven't let sit for a little bit, especially on a glossy page like an alcohol marker paper, you'll find that the marker itself will pick up the ink on the page. And there's a lot of ink on this page because of the fact that it is a 3D grayscale mandala. And I'm not getting any ink movement of the printer ink, which is great. Now, even if I go right up against this area here, and it's not bleeding into the other areas, which is also really good. I'm not having to sneak up to the edges. Like I do with some markers. And again, this is on marker paper. That is one of the things that I will stress a lot during this video is there is paper for everything that you do. There's watercolor paper, there's acrylic mat, there's, all different things that work best with the tools that you're using, with the medias that you're using. If you're going to use a media like alcohol markers, it is best to use a paper that's suited for it. So something that's fairly glossy, that has the ability to hold the marker and keep it wet for a little bit so that when you blend it together, you have that surface that will glide the colors together, if that makes sense. Now I'm just going through the center area here because this is in the back in my brain. Now I am being a little careful here because I don't want to color over the lines. Now with these types of pictures you can easily straight color things, or you can be fancy dancy with it and blend your colors together. We're going to do a little bit of both. Right now we're just doing the straight coloring. And this is a 3D mandala from Rachel Minsk 3D Mandalas coloring book, which I will also leave a link for below. Make sure that you do click on my 30% off, as well as my affiliate link if you want to purchase this book, because it does give me a couple of pennies to put towards new things for the channel. Okay, so there's our yellow. And it's a nice bright yellow, which is great. Now we're going to add some reds and oranges. So let's grab an orange. I want Y21. And this is the only part that I don't like, is trying to find things. And R22. So we've got an orange and a red orange tone. And we're going to start with our orange. And we're going to go through here. We may actually grab a yellow orange as well. We'll see. We'll see how well this goes. I'm not a huge fan of mandalas, as many people know. And it's not because I don't like the art. The art itself is really pretty. It's more along the lines of they bore me by the time I have them done. Alright, and then we're going to grab a bit of a darker red. So we're going to grab R4. And then we're going to combine them with Y32, not 23. There it is. Because I think it needs a little bit of a lighter tone just to blend them together. Get rid of any sort of harsh lines. Okay, so that is a 4-color blend. We're going to do it again. And again, it's not picking up the grayscale. It's not picking up the printer ink or anything like that. I'm not getting any lines. I'm not getting any start and stop lines, which are great. And I'm able to do, um, talking as well as coloring and actually stop and take a moment and not have to worry about rushing it. And that's because I'm using the right paper for the media. Alright, now we're going to grab this one and just blend it all together. Like so. And I'm even having time to put lids on and off, which is great because I'm using 4 different markers. They are a chunkier marker, so if you have smaller hands or don't have the ability to hold a larger marker, you may have difficulties with it. It is a large square marker. I'm having difficulty holding more than one marker at a time. And we all know that sometimes you gotta hold on to 1 or 2 with the lids off so that you can blend them together. And I'm not able to do that, but I'm not having to do that with the marker paper that I'm using. So, and I think I just grabbed the wrong, yeah, I did. Okay, so I just grabbed the wrong color, so let's correct this. Just go into it with your other color here. Not going to get as good of a blend on that side, but it'll still blend in. Alright. Then let's put that over there so I don't use it. Okay, so now I'm using the Y32 to blend it together, knocking down some of those blend lines a little bit. And this is why I don't like mandalas, because I have a tendency to lose track of what I'm doing by the time I get to a certain point. All right. And again, like I said, it is a matter of bringing things together to get a cohesive color, a cohesive picture. The brushes are very good at flicking as well as doing large areas. And we'll do a couple of test areas on the page for how much of a coverage we can get and that sort of thing. It does not come with a blender, but it does come with black, which is perfectly fine with me. blending that all together. You can definitely blend with your other colors or a lighter color, that sort of thing. So you don't really need the blender if you don't want to use it. Well, if it doesn't come with it and you don't have another one. Most colored marker sets, most alcohol marker sets come with a blender, but I don't know why this one doesn't, but it doesn't. So more than likely you have some extras around the house. If you don't, that's okay. It's mainly used for erasing. Well, that's what I mainly use it for anyway. I have seen people use them for other things, and we will test a couple of things as well and see what we can do with a blender. Maybe on these larger areas. Because I know of a couple of different techniques that I have seen people do, but I don't typically do myself. Because until recently, I was using alcohol markers just in the coloring books on the coloring book paper. And I have since learned that alcohol marker paper, is a godsend for anyone that wants to use alcohol markers. Because I hated markers because of using them on marker or coloring book paper, because everything bleeds, even my Copics. I was getting bleeding issues. I was getting overlap issues, color where I didn't want it to be, horrible little lines that I didn't want to be there. And it was a lot of work. And it wasn't fun. It was frustrating. And I don't want to do something that's frustrating. So I decided quite a while ago, that with how frustrating markers were, even though I could make them work well, it was frustrating and time consuming. So I made a decision a long time ago to work more in pencil, even if it was pencil over top of marker. I was still working more with pencil than marker. And then I found that the more I was able to do with pencils, the better I got with pencils, the less I grabbed the markers for a base or anything like that. So it's a progression in my world of working from markers to pencil. Because I used to work with markers quite a bit as a base and then put pencil over top of it, because I couldn't get the white spot to go away with my pencils and it would frustrate me. Now I've gotten much better with that, and I've gotten much better with embracing the white spot that I don't need a marker base on everything. Some things I still like to have the marker base. It has become a like, not a need, which is fantastic. I'm just going through with the same 4 colors. I've got a red orange, a red, and a burnt umber kind of orange. And then I'm going over it with a lighter orange to blend it all together. Gives it a little bit of a fire kind of look. Like so. And again, I'm not getting the start and stop lines, which is wonderful. And I'm able to take a lighter color and just blend everything together so it's nice and smooth, which in itself is fantastic. So on this last one, I'm going to stop for a few minutes and I'm just going to let that dry up there, and we'll see if we get a line or if we can eliminate it. I know this is kind of small to do this kind of experiment, but so we do have a bit of a line there, right there, which is fine because I'm going to see if we can eliminate it. All right, now we're going to add our red orange. And you'll see it more in your darker colors, like your blacks, that sort of thing, if you stop and start, stop and start. So you'll see it a little bit more in those colors. Or in your lighter colors, you will see, especially when you're blending things together, you'll see those blend lines a little more. Alright, so I've got the lightest tone here. We're going to blend this together and see if we can eliminate that connection line. Even after it's dried, it does seem to be eliminating it, so I do apologize. It seems that potential spam needed to talk to me today. And potential spam just got hung up on. All right, so there is our four color blend on the outside. Let's do a purple blend on the inside. So we need R77, P82, there it is, and I think P73. Let's actually grab P83. All right, so we're going to start with our lightest. I actually grab B75 instead of that one. I'm going to grab our lightest purple here. So a little bit darker, so I'm just going to put another coat on it. Another great thing with alcohol markers is the fact that when you go over something, you can intensify that color. So the more ink you get on there, the deeper the tone. Now they decided to call my cell phone number. They really want to talk to me today. I do apologize. My desk is vibrating because of the phone. voicemail. We'll pick it up and they won't leave a message, and then I won't hear from them again until, later. Okay. So I've got those three done. Now I'm going to go to a much deeper tone. So we're going to grab P83 first. And we're going to come in off the edges here. So as you can see, you can definitely see the transition lines between those two colors. Now we're going to go into P82. And we're going to do a dark edge here. Like so. And then we're going to grab our P75 again. And we're going to go over all of it and blend it all together. Hopefully. Like so. Just going to eliminate more of that line there. There we go. And as you can see, the lighter color has pushed that darker color over so that more of the lighter color is showing. It still shows the darker color underneath, and as it dries, it will show that a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to go with P83. You can also do this without putting the base down. So if you wanted to, you could put your dark colors down and then go over it in the areas that you want the push to be, and just build that color that way. I like putting the base coat down because it helps me understand where I want to stop with the darker tones. But that's just me, because I'm not proficient. I'm not absolutely blindfold me and I'll color with markers perfect with them. So we're going to do the push here, blending those colors together. Just being careful around the edges here where the overlap is into other colors that we don't want purple to be in. Like our yellow area here. Like so. Again, with our medium purple. These do not have names on them, however they are numbered. So you can swatch them out and be able to find the pen that you want. Like so. So again, we're going to swatch, or we're going to color this area with a initial coating, and then we will come back through and add the other colors. You know, you sit there and think a mandala should go, you know, be pretty quick. It's got a lot of open spaces. It shouldn't take too long. So the name of these markers is XSG. They are, like I said, a brush and a chisel. They are basically touch new markers with the brush tip. They do come in a touch bag, so that's why I'm assuming that's what they are. And you can definitely purchase the Touch brand on AliExpress as well as Amazon. And sometimes you can get it cheaper, sometimes not. These for an 80 pack came out to $20, well $19.99. You get 30% off with the coupon, I think. No, it's 50% off, sorry. 50% off with the coupon. And I was going to wait to do this because I do have another coupon that is 30% off of the Sparkle Pop pens as well. And I'll leave that below as well. And the Sparkle Pop pens would go really well with this mandala. Now that I think of it. Nope, that's the wrong one. Okay, we're going to start with P83, doing our darker tone. And as you can see, when it dries a little bit lighter than when it's wet, and that's just normal. All alcohol markers do that. All inks will do that because it's wet. When it's dry, it's going to be a little bit lighter. Now I'm not doing these all exactly the same, obviously, because I'm not good at making sure everything is uniform and exactly the same. But as you can see, I have done a 4-color blend as well as a 3-color blend, and I'm getting them blended together quite nicely. I don't have a lot of overlap lines going on, which is great. Nothing worse than having those overlap lines. And you can also avoid having those overlap lines if you work quickly and make sure that the marker is got a wet edge at all times. I'm doing this fairly slowly just to show you that even though I'm not working with a wet edge, I can still blend these and still work with them on this paper and still get them to do what I want it to do. I'm not having any fraying of the nibs, and I am scrubbing them quite a bit to get that blend to go. I didn't have any dry pens whatsoever. They're all very, very wet. Not so wet that they're going to spray out at you when you pull the lid off, like other markers I have. The lids do fit on fairly well. They feel a little not as tight as, say, the Arteza markers. Those lids are on tight. And again, I have a set of the Copic originals, the classics, and I have a little set of the Ohuhus, and I have a really expensive set of chromas. I have the Artezas, I have the Cali Arts. I have all of those brush markers. And to be completely honest with you, um, and I have a couple of Copic brush markers as well. But to be absolutely completely honest, I don't find a lot of difference between the markers themselves. I do find that there are some that are overly full, like to a point where it's going to spray on you when you pull the lid off. Um, the difference between the chromas and, say, these ones or the Ohuhus or the Cali Arts. And the chromas are a very expensive brush marker. And the difference I find between all of them is the nibs. The nibs are something that is different. Some nibs, like on the chromas, are easily frayed. They're more of a paintbrush material. Most of the ones that come out of Asia are a silicone type material, a rubber nib, and they don't fray at all, but they do get sticky. And even the Copics get sticky. But they do move the ink better than a frayed nib. So I do prefer the Asian nibs that have a little bit more of a rubbery um, consistency, because they do flex well, and they do go right back to the position that they were in before you started putting pressure on it, and they don't fray. There is nothing worse than working with a frayed nib. And the chromas dry out really quick as well. That's another thing that you have to take into consideration when purchasing a set of markers, whether it be an expensive set or a cheaper set, is definitely take a look at the reviews. Make sure that if you don't have a lot of reviews saying they were dry when they arrived or they dried up very quickly after arrival. Check all of your caps and barrels for any splits. Make sure that there's no leakage, because even though it's not leaking ink itself, you may end up with a little bit of a crack or a little bit of a split. And instead of leaking the ink, what it's doing is it's um, expressing the alcohol vapors. So it's drying out the alcohol, because alcohol will dry out when exposed to air. So the ink itself is still in there. However, the material that they've used to move the ink to make it thin so that it lays down is no longer there. So the pigment is there, but the alcohol is not. Sometimes you can fix this by adding the 99.9% isopropyl alcohol to your marker, and that will help with that. Now I'm going to take P73 and I'm going to do the center areas here. Like so. So we've done some combinations. Now we're going to do some straight coloring. And this is when it's going to get really quick. Not having to blend anything, it'll go fairly quick. Maybe. Color choices is one of my downfalls. Because I did not choose a color palette. I am just working in, ooh, I went over the lines there. So as you could see, I'll throw this over on the close-up camera so you can see it a little bit better. So as you can see right here, I went over the lines, but it's not bleeding profusely into the other color, which is great. All right. So there's our purples. Now we're going to grab, let's do some tealy kind of colors. Let's do this color. So this is green 50 or G58. It's a pretty color. Trying to make sure that I get into all the little areas. And again, I don't have any bleed out. So I do find that I do a lot of stop and start, and I'm not seeing any lines from that. So once again, the reason why I'm doing a video for these today instead of on Friday is because the coupon does expire soon. And I want you to have all the information available to you if you do decide to take advantage of the deal. I did purchase them with the coupon, and it came out to $19.99 with tax. So would I purchase them again at that price? Absolutely. Would I pay full price for them? Um, you know, I have a hard time with that. Not because they're bad markers, but because they're markers. I do find that I do shy away from full price markers because I don't use them enough to justify the cost to myself. I can justify the cost of an expensive set of pencils because I use pencils all the time, and that's a part of the collection. Markers are not something I collect. I do collect all sorts of art stuff, and markers are in the collection. However, they're not something that I feel the need to have all the sets of. Just like, pencils. Pencils, I have a need for all the sets. And I find that the cheaper markers are better suited to me, even though they are not refillable, even though they're not open stock or anything like that. And I may have to buy a new set by the time I get through the colors that are in this set. The reason for that I feel that they're better for me, is because I don't use them enough. I have markers all the way to when I first started, and I was coloring on top of my swatch chart. And the markers that I had when I first started, the cheap ones, so the really, really cheap ones, such as Spree and that sort of thing, are still perfectly fine. I can color with them, no problem. The expensive ones, like the Chroma, that are refillable and you can buy new nibs for them and all that fun stuff, have dried out. And I have checked for breakage. I've checked for any sort of possibilities that a cap has split, and I have not had that problem. I do use them, but I find that they don't have as much ink in them as some of the cheaper alternatives. So would I pay $20 for a new set of these if I needed them again? Absolutely. Alright, so I'm going to also use this color here just to make sure that it's cohesive. Throughout the picture. So that is why I am doing a mandala on Tuesday morning. Because I want you guys to know that this deal is available, show you what the markers can do before it's no longer available, because I would rather save you 50% on a good set of markers that seem to be working quite nicely, than have you spend a large amount of money on a more expensive set of markers that may not do as well. The Copics are beautiful. They are fantastic. Um, the only thing I don't like about the Copics is their price. They are very, very expensive. And I just can't justify it because I just don't use them. And I'm quite sure that if I had them, I would use them at some point. But I would not use them enough to have them be worth it, I guess is the words. All right. Now we're going to take that deep purple again. What color was that? I think it was 82. No, there it is. It's under my chart. I'm going to take the P73. I'm going to do the center teardrop in here, just to be cohesive with the center. Isn't this fun? And people do this to relax. No, that I'm not saying mandalas are bad. If I wasn't doing the video, I probably would have stopped. But before I got done the orange. It will be beautiful once it's done. And I know that because I see so many people do absolutely gorgeous mandalas. And the artwork itself is absolutely beautiful. I just get really bored really easily, really quickly. And it's really, really horrible. Just going to use the light purple for the edges here. The little teardrops that come off of that one. Another thing that I want to remind you of is that sometimes paper does make the difference. So if you are having problems with your alcohol markers on, say, your coloring book pages or that sort of thing, purchase a small pack of either Express It alcohol marker paper, Arteza alcohol marker paper. There's all sorts of them out there. Either an alcohol marker paper specifically or a cover stock, something that has a bit of a glossy finish, which will allow you to move that marker a little bit better. Just going over it again, just to intensify that light purple a little bit. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing here. And do the outer ones with the light purple. And then we'll do the inner one with the darker purple. Not worried about any areas that I've gone over. Okay, so that's all of those. And I'm going to grab the darker purple, which is P73. Not that it matters. I'm so used to telling you guys what colors I'm using, even when it doesn't matter what color I'm using, I'm going to tell you. So as you can see, even in really small areas, you can get into those little teeny tight areas. Let's see if I can see on the screen. Sorry guys, I thought it was still on the other camera. So we can get into those really teeny areas there, and it doesn't bleed too far out of, well, it doesn't bleed at all. And again, I can't guarantee that that is the marker or the paper. I can grab a coloring book after I'm done with most of this, and we can check on coloring book paper. But my experience with coloring book paper is no matter what marker you're using, it's going to bleed. So what I don't normally do when I'm coloring on coloring book paper is I grab an area that I want to test in, so whether it has a test page or anything like that, and I check the paper and watch how far it's going to bleed. So if I'm getting close to the edge of something, I can stop, wait for it to bleed out, and then move further in. Now we're going to do these areas here as well with the purple. I'm getting sloppy, sorry guys. That's another thing that I find with mandalas is I get a little sloppy with them. I try to go a little bit quicker or try to get it done faster and end up being messy. You just have to have some patience with markers, especially if you're blending and that sort of thing on regular paper. You can do it. It can be done. You just have to be a little more patient with it and a little bit quicker with it. It's the one thing is if your paper is very thirsty, it will just soak up your marker so quickly that you won't have a chance to put more marker on it. Now we're going to use green or G46. Again, not like it matters. Not that the color itself doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter which one I'm using because you guys aren't going to be coloring along. This is not the best color combination, but it works. It has a lot of complementary colors to maintain that consistency. If I'm working with oranges, purples, and yellows, I usually go for teals and greens. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because, you know, they're the ones that look the best together, and I've learned over the years that they're the best that they're the ones that look best together. Not only from my color wheel and other people's information, but my own eye. it's pleasing to my eye. All right. Almost done, guys. And then you guys can say that I colored an entire mandala on my channel. I have done it before. It's just not all at once. I colored a Christmas mandala with different sets of pencils. So I have done it before. All right. Now we're also going to take this. No, we're not. We're going to grab Y23 and we're going to do the inside parts here. As you can see, they're quite bright colors. And they do blend nicely together. And also going to do these little bits up here. So even into the finer details, the brush does get really, really, really detailed, which is awesome. And I'm going to show you that a little bit more as we go into these little doodads there, which I'm going to use a red for. So I'm going to use R4 for those. So right into there. Like that. With the smaller details, you have to use the very, very tip of the brush. Just touch it to the paper and let the brush do the work for you. Let the ink move. Sorry if I go quiet. Concentration. Trying to make sure I don't, you know, make a complete mess of it. I want to show you how well these markers do, not how well I can mess them up. Alright, so there is the red. Now I'm going to grab the deeper green. And I think it's this one here I want. No. I want this one. This one here. Yeah. So this one is a darker teal green. And that's what we're going to use for the dots, both here as well as up on the upper areas. Okay. And then we're going to grab a nice bright yellow. So we're going to grab Y73 and we're going to do the center. Like that. Alright, so that mandala is complete. I'm going to put all these back in here and then I will switch over to the main screen here. So as you can see, the mandala is finished. I didn't get any bleed out outside of the lines. I was able to blend multiple colors together to get a gradients as well as a nice color blend. I was able to color straight color and of course I was able to eliminate any sort of start and stop lines, which is cool. Again, this is from 3D Mandala by Rachel Minsk. The markers themselves are called XSG art markers. I'm going to switch you over here so you can see the marker itself. So it's an XSG art marker. It is a chunkier marker. It does have a brush nib and a chisel nib. It's got a chunky chisel nib, not a thin chisel nib. So if you use your chisel nibs for backgrounds and that sort of thing, absolutely. It is definitely something that you can use that for. Now I'm going to grab something that has some regular paper in it. Ouch. Let's see if I can stand up without hurting myself. So let's see. Well, let's grab one of these. Of course, it's not coming out. There it goes. Okay. So I've got Jade Summers unicorns here. And the reason why I grabbed it is because most people really enjoy the markers in Jade Summer books. So let's try to do a little bit. Well, let's choose the last page in the book, and that way we can not worry about bleed over because I don't have another page to put with it. Okay, so we've got a unicorn and a mermaid here. So let's start with the mermaid's tail. So we're going to start with G58. And as you can see, there is a little bit of movement. Oh, maybe. Maybe if I don't have it on the wrong camera. Sorry, guys. There we go. That works better. Honest. All right, so as we're going through, what we're watching is we're watching this edge and seeing how quickly or how close it gets to the other edge. Now, like I said, with colored paper, coloring book paper, you do have to be a little bit quicker because of the fact that it's thirsty paper. It will dry out your line very quickly. So if you're not close to the line yet, just add a little bit more. You can also do a touch, which is a very, very light amount. Just don't go over the line. A lot of issues happen on coloring book paper because somebody has gone over the lines. Now I'm just straight coloring this. I'm not going to be adding any highlight color or anything like that. I'm just going to straight color the tail here. Now again, like I said, on colored paper, you do have to work, coloring book paper, you do have to work a little bit quicker and a little bit more aggressively to eliminate any sort of dry lines. Make sure that you should keep your line wet as possible. If you don't go over the lines, 9 times out of 10 your marker won't either. But if you cross over the line, it just basically opens a bridge for that marker. So you just want the marker to go up to the edge. And I'm not getting a huge amount of bleed line, so I'm having to actually bring the marker right up close to the line, which is not a bad thing. It's actually pretty good because then I can get closer into those finer details. All right. Oh, this part here. Now I'm going to grab B68. All right. So even in coloring books, I'm getting a good movement. There isn't any strong smells with these markers either. Unlike some alcohol markers, when you get them, they are very, very strong. These do not have a strong smell at all when I'm working on my printer paper. However, once I started working on this paper, I did notice a little waft of an odor. I don't know if it's from the alcohol mixing with the paint, the ink on this paper. But as you can see on this tail, it's pretty seamless. I was able to get quite a good coverage. I'm going to fix this part here. Like so. So I'm just going to pull that down, eliminating that line a little bit, like so. And hopefully when it dries, it will eliminate itself. Alright, so like I said, I didn't have any problems with bleed over or anything like that. They did cover quite nicely. And of course, as we know, it is going to go through. So there will always be a bleed through, especially with the thin paper like the CreateSpace paper. So make sure that you have something behind your paper while you're using it. So they worked great on coloring book paper. They work fantastic on alcohol marker paper. Like I said, they do bleed through, but that's expected of any alcohol marker. So for $20, you get 80 colored markers, and you get all 80 colors. They are a brush tip marker. There is no blender in there. It's just 80 markers. That's the color range. So we've got our yellows into our browns, into our reds and pinks, into our purples, blues, greens, and grays. I think that it is a usable complementary set of colors. There aren't a lot of skin tones for a lighter skin tone, so if you're a person that does a lot of lighter skin tones, you are going to have a difficult time just using these for skin tones, in my opinion. If you enjoy using them for darker skin tones, there is a lot more choices there. Jen, I colored a mandala on my channel. Don't ever mention it again. No. With that, I would like to say thank you all very much for watching. I will leave the link to the coupon below the video. It is a limited time coupon. I do believe it expires tonight at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. If it doesn't, it will expire shortly after that, either a day or two. I do believe it's tonight, though. It is the 16th, so I do believe it's tonight. If there is another coupon that comes up, I will let you know on the Enable Station post. I post that post every day except for Sundays. And on Sundays, I do try to make sure that all of the coupons that are in there are still valid. Yeah, so check those out. Make sure that you are keeping an eye on those because you can save quite a bit of money on some of these things, especially if it's just things that you want to try out and you don't want to pay full price for. So that is on my community tab. I also keep an eye on the deals of the day. So if I see a good deal on pencils or things like that, I have a whole list of different things and their percentages off on what deals are going on Amazon. Those are not coupons. Those are deals that are going on the Amazon site. I am an Amazon affiliate. Every time you click on one of those links and purchase something, I do get a small commission off of your purchase, and at absolutely no additional cost to you. It does help the channel out with purchases for reviews, as well as gifts and prizes and that sort of thing when I purchase prizes and stuff. So please do use the affiliate links. They do help out a little bit, especially if everybody uses them. All right, guys, so that was the reason for the video today was 50% off an 80 set of colored markers, brush and chisel nib. They work really, really nicely. I am actually really impressed with how well they work for a $20 set of markers. I, of course, will leave those links below. If you missed the link or you want to look at it and see if it is back, of course, it will only be valid until Tuesday the 16th at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time, as far as I know. If you are viewing this after that time, keep an eye on the Enable station on my community page. That is where I keep all of those cool discounts and coupons available to everyone. With that, I would like to say thank you all very much for watching. Of course, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artist that you enjoy. Always remember to ring the bell. Not only does this help us with our self-esteem, but it also helps the YouTube analytics send new people to visit us. And of course, last but not least, is always remember to relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Until next time, bye-bye for now.